So let's get into a little. We're gonna do a rapid fire draft thing. I don't need scouting reports. If you guys want Shane's scouting reports, I need you to go to Pro Football Enterprises YouTube channel with Ben and Austin and Shane, where I know they've done at least a handful of these offensive linemen. And as we get closer to the draft, I'm sure we'll come back through and we'll do some more deep dive stuff. But just since the draft has kind of been in the background of this conversation, as it informs decisions in free agency, I want to just go through some rapid fire things. So, who, Shane, is your O line one in this draft, regardless of position? Who is your top offensive lineman in the draft right now?
I think it's Francis Mayoga. I think he has the ability to play wherever you want him. I think he has a mentality that the. I think his mentality is what sets him apart from the other guys. Because you can, regardless of where you put him, if you think Spencer Fano or you think that Caleb Lamu, the two Utah guys, are going to be your next two, wherever how you put them out, they're not as physical and they're not as mean as he is. Um, so I think that puts him at number one, and I don't think it's close.
I like it. What's his best? What do you think would ultimately be his best position in the NFL?
It, for the way that he plays in the position is, I really think he would make an absolutely dominant guard.
Yeah.
Where do I think that he's probably going to play the most? I think at that level and where you draft him, you're going to play him at left tackle. I think probably his best position is actually right. He'd
Mm-hmm.
be a better dominant run guy where you could run to his side and protect him in what he does. Um, he has the size, he has speed. Uh, I just think his power plays more interior wise than it does as a tackle. Um, I don't think this year that there's any guy that's a given where
Yeah.
he's going to end his career as a tackle for like that's a guy where maybe a couple years down the line you move him inside because he loses a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of his fastball.
Yeah. I really like Malago. I'm gonna go through again these guys again, but it's perfect for him and Fano that those top two teams at 3 and 5, New York, Arizona, need right side guys because
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for let the guy fail at tackle before you make him play on the inside. So I think it'd be perfect for both of them, one to go 3, one to go 5, whatever ends up happening. But they both would just get to start at right tackle, and if it doesn't work, both those teams need right guards. So just slide them into guard and let them try that out.
Mm-hmm.
Spencer Fano, what's his best position,
See,
or
I
what
think
do you think his best position would ultimately end up being in the NFL?
I think he, like you said, so you could play him at right. I think his play style, in all honesty, is a better left tackle because his game is more quick feet, agility, speed,
Hmm.
things like that. Where he's like Taylor Lewan
Hmm.
is the bigger comp that I have for him. A
Hmm.
similar frame, problems keeping your weight up, things like that.
Hmm.
Athletic guy that you can play on the outside. So I think it
Hmm.
helps him to play on the left side and be able to protect that way. Um, you mentioned it already. You know, he is a guy you can slide,
Yeah.
but if you're going to draft him that high, then you've got to believe that he can play the position that you draft him at.
So these two guys are funny, and this applies to all these guys. They're in my head. I'm working on a flow chart because for Spencer Fano at the combine, he was getting reps at center, and we've been
Mm-hmm.
doing this lately. Where when I first started doing this, paying attention to the offensive line, I kind of always saw it as people would. Everyone wants to be tackle. You start tackle. If you can't play tackle, you play guard. If you can't play guard, you play center. What's happening lately is here's the flow chart. You take a college tackle, right? The first step is are his arms long enough to play tackle? At least for the conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you keep him at tackle. No. All right, move to step two. Are his feet are his feet a little slow? Yes, he's a guard. No. Maybe we play him at center. Okay, so let's go to the next thing. Are his feet so his feet are fast, but his arms are short, and he plays tackle? Is he draft Twitter darling? Yes, center. Because we did this with Rashawn Slater,
Mm-hmm.
we did this with Troy Fautanu, and we did this with Graham Barton. Now, Slater and Fautanu stuck at tackle, right? And Fautanu like has long arms. Slater has shorter arms, but like, those guys were good enough, skilled enough. They stuck at tackle. Barton immediately just played center. Like, I don't think anybody like watched any of the tape and was like, there is tackle tape on here, but we like the player and he's very athletic and he had 1 year of playing center as a freshman. Boom, center, and he's a good center. So I think when you look at Fano and Maui-Goa, and you said Maui-Goa has the speed. I'm that's something I particularly want to look back for because I know I've seen stuff where he's getting on the outside, he is getting on the hoof, but they ask him to play in the phone booth more than
Mm-hmm.
Utah would ask Fano to play in, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So in my head, it's like, okay, if Maui-Goa doesn't stick at right tackle, I could see him playing right guard. If Fano doesn't stick at right tackle, does someone try him at center just because he is athletic? And I can see that like ability to turn guys either way and immediately take off either way. All right, so that was longer than I wanted to be, but I wanted to tell you about my flow chart. You mentioned him, Caden Proctor. What would his best position ultimately be in the NFL?
Slot receiver. I mean, he the
H back.
the problem is, and you mentioned it already, Simon, is that he has all these athletic gifts. There's no doubt about it. You can see it. He's got the size, he's got speed. Here's the problem. You talk to the coaches, you talk to the other players. Doesn't seem like he's a well liked teammate. Doesn't seem
Hmm.
that he's a very mature athlete. You're going to sign that guy to a pro contract and ask him to protect your greatest asset, which is the quarterback, and he doesn't particularly care about it. I mean, that hurts me for how you're going to be able to go forward. Uh, and I think they let him do some of those, like, tackle eligibles and things like that to try to keep him interested.
Hmm.
If
Hmm.
you're going to be a top 20 draft pick, why do I have to keep you interested? Why am I having to manufacture ways for you to care about football? That's,
Yeah.
I would imagine that he's a guy where you just look at him and you go, yeah, I see all the athletic talent, but I'm
Hmm.
going to want my full time to talk to him to
Yep.
try to figure out what the deal is. Also, he's a guy where he's from Iowa, goes to Alabama, doesn't have a great beginning in his Alabama career, goes back to Iowa, then transfers back to Alabama before he ever touches the field for Iowa. We got some real questions there.
Hmm.
And in the beginning, people were talking about him being like a Tristan Wirfs. He is not
Hmm.
a Tristan Wirfs. He is.
Hmm.
He doesn't play like him. He doesn't
Nope.
compete like him. He's
Nope.
nothing in that realm.
Nope.
Uh, but he's a guy that's going to get drafted because of those physical attributes,
Hmm.
and it's going to be a GM's neck on the line because you're going to reach for him because you get scared that these other tackles are going off the board, and you're going to get somebody like you're going to make a move to go get Proctor, and then another GM that knows what they're talking about is going to be laughing because Monroe Feeling is sitting there and he's shot up the draft board. I mean, some of the draft boards he shot up 40, 50 spots based on what he could do. So then all of a sudden you overstretch, and then somebody else is going to. This is a Howie Roseman type deal where you're just like, okay, yep,
Hmm.
you guys did
Hmm.
that. That was real stupid. We're picking the guy we want. Or you see the Rams where you're like, oh, I can't believe we picked him. And then you're like, send the pick in before somebody figures out what they did wrong. Um, like I said, I didn't like Proctor from the very beginning. Um, the tape you watch at him at Alabama, bad hand placement. For a guy who you see physical talent is, he doesn't use it when he needs it. Um, Alabama chose to run away from him on some of the plays where they needed first downs. I don't know how you're your number one tackle and we run away from you when we need it. Um, other than the trick plays, I've got questions about maturity. I've got questions about toughness. I, you can get away with that being a slot receiver. You can't get away with that being an offensive tackle in the NFL. He's a guy where, like I said, out of the like top seven, I have him rated 7. I think Athletically, he should be 1,000% better than what he is. But I mean, I'm looking at guys that are in between players where you're going like even at Jennings Dunker where you're going to go like we're going to move him. He's not going to play tackle in the NFL.
Hmm.
But I would still go. I'd rather play him at tackle than I would playing Caden Proctor. I don't think he's going to have a good NFL career because I don't think you magically get it when you get to the NFL.
It's a real depressing scouting report. But on that note, can you? I say it's depressing, but I definitely agree. But can I tell you what my dream fit for him is?
Mm-hmm.
The Bills,
I could see that.
based on the fact that they just want to be big and mash people, and talk about like getting him in a room where there can be some character guys that are gonna straighten him out and tell him to do the right thing. You literally play him between Dion Dawkins and Connor McGovern. And again, switch of positions, that whole thing. But like you said, not playing tackle. So I'm going to put you on the left side, going to put you at left guard. Because when he is just has to be in a phone booth and just hold his spot, he can do that. And it's sad that a person that should be as athletically gifted and play to that as he is, that I'm going to ask him to essentially just be left side Osiris Torrance, who Torrance, none of those same concerns,
Mm-hmm.
but just athletically, like the man was like 350 pounds at Florida and he couldn't move anywhere. But he was, I mean, oh shoot, who was the guy? Who was the Panthers guard for so long that even came in, was with the Steelers for a couple years? Just like can't move at all. But it's just a mean son of a gun, and it's just so strong that he's just gonna get his hands on a guy and he's not gonna move anywhere. Like the defender's not gonna have a chance to get anywhere. And like I'm gonna put Proctor in that box and just say, hey, in pass protection, we just Dawkins and McGovern are gonna worry about all the stunts. We just need you to get your hands on someone and keep them there. And in the run game, man, for as athletic as he is, he can't even push vertically. He's not getting the technique is not there to actually move anybody off their spot. So maybe we can work on that with him. Probably not. But hey, man, just get your hands on somebody and turn them the direction I tell you to turn them in. And based on the way they want to play and how he could be insulated, that's my dream for him right there. All the way down at 26. Yeah, he goes after Fano, Maui Goa, Freeling, Iwane, Lomu even. Um, Down at the end of the first round, they just plant him at left guard and tell him to not move
Mm-hmm.
anywhere and just try to be mean and see if he gets him out. That's my dream for him.
See, and I don't. I as much as I dislike that as a player, I don't disagree with that as being a good choice for him, Simon. The other thing is, uh, and I don't think the Bills got credit for this. You mentioned it before. If you're gonna play your home games in Buffalo, which as a Northern New Yorker, I can tell you it's gonna be cold, it's gonna snow. Why would we not look for the biggest, meanest group we can have? Because regardless of how great our quarterback is, and we use him more as a running back than sometimes we should, we're going to need to control the ball because regardless of how they think this new stadium is going to completely stop wind like no stadium has ever been able to do in the history of mankind, you're going to need to be able to control people when this comes through. Like you said, I don't think I'm a big believer in, you know, you're not going to change your spots when you get to the NFL. Like
Hmm.
the leopard is not changing all of a sudden, and I don't think Caden Proctor is going to put it together where all of a sudden he turns into an absolute animal. But if I'm only asking him to do certain things, and I'm literally telling him this is all like you're going to do this, and it's the only thing we're asking for you, and you better do it because you could be the one piece we need. If you don't, then he's going to be an early exit guy. You
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
um, the other thing I think the Bills also they're in a spot where if you don't go up and take somebody like him, I wouldn't be surprised if they get somebody late. You mentioned Caleb Lamu. For me, I think he's the better, in all honesty, technique wise, agility wise, of the
Oh
Utah
yeah.
offensive lineman.
Ooh.
But
Hmm.
he just doesn't fit the same profile for what you're looking for. He's a
Hmm.
guy that's had to build himself up a little bit more. But
Yep.
again, he's a guy that if you tell him this is what we're going to ask of you, he's going to do it. There's not going to be any questions asked, and that's two guys that have the mentality.
Yes.
because Utah was just going to pound people.
Hmm.
You know, we,
Love.
we'll go through a pig farmer and 13 other quarterbacks, but guess what? We're going to run for 230 each game.
I love those two, man. I love those two. I really love the top of this offensive line group. So as we continue to get closer in the draft, there will be more prospect talk. But I wanted to get some early thoughts, quote unquote early thoughts. We only have like 5 more weeks from you on that. That is going to do it for us tonight, Shane. Man, thank you so much once again for coming on and doing this. I love being able to do these O line deep dives. And if it's you or if it's Ben, if it's both of you, if it's me by myself, I have a great time. But it was awesome having you here to chat with. So thank you for being here.
I appreciate it, Simon. Like I said, I told Ben during our discussion that I'm sure Simon and I will be able to talk for multitude of hours on offensive linemen. There are probably people who will tune out and then tune
Oh
back
my
in
gosh.
and then go, hey, yeah, now this is the part that I was looking for. Why couldn't they have put that in the first 25 minutes?
Exactly. At one point, man, we were buzzing through. I looked down, it was like an hour 13. I was like, dude, are we gonna do this in like 90 minutes? Nope, we figured it out. We made it happen. I really appreciate it. So everybody out there, make sure you are checking Shane out on Pro Football Enterprise with our friend Ben Parker. They will be continuing to get you guys draft prospect scouting reports and then draft and additional NFL content all the way up to the draft and beyond. So make sure you check that out. Thank you to Shane for being here. If you're here on YouTube, thank you for being here. Like, subscribe, comment. If you're a fellow O-line enthusiast, this is where you want to be because there will be tons more O-line coverage specifically all through everything we do here. So thank you for being here. If you're listening on audio, A1 Day One, we appreciate you as always. This episode is even coming out a day early because we wanted to get on top of the news and everything. So this will be out on Wednesday, and then we'll be back with our normally Thursday scheduled programming starting next week. But on Thursday of this week, if you're like, man, it's Thursday, I need some Simon and Friends, go over to the Box Score Network YouTube channel because there is going to be a fresh, hot piping post free agency mock draft hitting your feeds on Thursday on YouTube. So make sure you guys check that out. Thank you all so much. We will talk to you again soon. Have fun and be safe out there.